today to discuss Hadrian's Wall. It's a new one from Renegade Game Studios.
Yep, and Garfield Games.
And before we start getting into that, though, make sure you hit that subscribe button below so you can follow along, because you don't want to miss out on any of these reviews. None of them.
Yep.
Not one.
And best way to find out what the next video is, that notification bell. So hit that too.
Yep. And leave us some messages. If you got some
Absolutely.
recommendations of what we should try out next, put them on down there. We'll be happy to get them to the table if we have them, or probably track them down.
Heck yeah.
All right. So, Hadrian's Wall. What do we have?
We got, this game is fairly new, came out this year. Board Game Geek rating is pretty good. It's got an 8.3. Designers Bobby Hill, art Sam Phillips, and like we said, it's published by Renegade Games and Garfield Games. And kind of classified as card management with track progression, I guess. Not really texture-y.
It's a roll and write.
There's no rolling at all.
No,
you've got cards.
Yeah.
So it's like card management because you pick the two cards, no dice.
Yeah.
And so it's not a roll and write.
Well, it functions like
It's
what? You're filling in boxes that give
yeah.
you more boxes. And
There's all kinds of games that's got boxes that are not called a roll and write.
Okay. Same gameplay. You're triggering resources that give you things, though. A shared resource pool, and then your own personal ones.
So, anyway.
So, quality of components, well, all you really get is two big notepads.
Huge. So the box weighs quite a bit amount, and it's mainly because you get two huge stacks of these, of your sheets.
And they are very intimidating.
They really are. And the rest of it's why, I don't know if you can see it real well, but you really only have... you have 4 different little meeple colors. You got purple, yellow, blue, and black. And then you got the steel cube, little iron or ore cubes.
You have a common deck of cards, and they are textured. They have, they're good quality cards. And there's one personal set for every color. And they're the same in each suit. They just have different backs. And then you have a 2-piece cardboard road that you keep in front of you. And your 2-player sheets. And when we first were trying to learn this, it was very complex read.
So intimidating.
Yes, it looks intimidating. There's a lot to do. I mean, one sheet alone has more on it than any roll and write I've ever seen.
And we got 2 of them.
And you got 2 of them. So it is very... I would put this at a medium at minimum, which is heavy for a roll and write.
Yeah, I might even go leaning to the heavy side.
I don't know. Once you actually start the gameplay, once you start
going... Yeah, but most good medium to heavy games are like that, though. That once you get moving, it's not...
I don't know. I mean, the rules made it sound worse than it was. Once you actually start playing, you filled in a box, it gave you an icon, you filled in that box. It was, it just changed. It wasn't that bad. But it looks intimidating. So for that purpose alone, I have to give it a medium, which is heavier than most roll and writes.
Yeah.
So as far as the quality of components, I don't see giving this more than a 6. I mean, the cards are decent. The little wooden pieces are decent. They're pretty, but we'll get into that in theme. But there's nothing real exciting about any of it. The cardboard's pretty lame.
I mean, realistically, I really like this game, as we'll talk about, but quality components is not any better than Catan, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So, because I don't think the components are any higher than Catan, I can't, and it kind of hurts because I like the game so much, but I can't give it higher than 5 for quality.
Yeah.
I really can't.
I don't know, the cards are good quality. That's why I gave it a 6.
I think the cards are fine in Catan, too.
Well, they're not textured in Catan.
I just can't.
Okay.
So.
All right, he's 5, I'm 6. All right, moving on to theme. So the theme of this is Roman, which is I love Roman games.
Yeah.
I don't think there's very few Roman games that I think I own that I don't like or have tried and I don't like.
Right.
In general, I like Roman themed games.
So this one's specifically about Hadrian's Wall. So we're in Britannia, and you got the wall being built by the Roman Empire, trying to prevent the Picts from invading, and
which was more about history than I ever knew. So you get the trophy for the day. You asked me where Hadrian's Wall. I would have gone with Rome. So you got me. I mean, the theme is it's I guess incorporated in the gameplay in the sense that you've got a wall that you're building.
Yeah.
And you've got all the different things that were common for the Roman era in your characterizations of things you can build.
And the card play will show you what parts of the wall the Picts are attacking.
Yeah.
So I think the theme comes through pretty well.
Yeah, I was not aware they had Tetris back in the Roman times.
You didn't know that?
No, but
Well,
there is definitely a Tetris aspect to part of the game. So, so basically, we'll get into that in gameplay. But
Right.
the
But
art on
thematically,
the art on it's fine. It's not great, but it's okay. I like the colors they chose for the different meeples.
you particularly like the
creepy looking dude that made the what was that? I'm not even gonna try to pronounce it because I kept calling it apparitions because I can't even pronounce that. But yeah.
But either way, we got a lady that's got a dirty look on her face, probably because of the skanky looking dude behind her.
It looks like he's eyeing her, so that's a little creepy. But yeah, the colors on it are fine as far as
muted, though.
It's faded. There's really nothing to the cards. They're just iconography.
Really, I mean, the cover, the art on the back of the cards are pretty nice because each color's different.
Yeah, the colors are different, but I'm not a real fan of like the art there.
Oh, you don't like the style?
No,
I like
I'm
the
not a
art
huge
style.
fan of it.
But there's just
not that's why I didn't back the game or buy the game is because I hated the cover of the box so much. Yeah.
It's just not a lot of it. So, personally, I can't give it above a 7.
Yeah, I think I'm right with you as far as theme. It's not really that heavily into it, but it does flow through the actions you take. But it could have been any theme really, except for the fact that there's a wall involved.
Right.
As far as the rule book was. Beast.
It was daunting.
Yes, it's when you get this game out, you're thinking, oh, it's a type of similar to a roll and write. I won't call it a roll and write because I've been calling it that, but it's not. It's 22 pages long, and
I just think that part of the problem is they literally break down every section of the game.
Well, I didn't have a problem with that so much as the way they did it. It was just it's like. They detailed every individual box almost of what you could fill in and what you would do with it, and because if you were doing it at the time, I guess it would work. But it was just very dry and hard to get through.
Like they were kind of like trying to teach strategy while trying to teach the game.
Well, there wasn't really any strategy involved.
Well, like if you go here, then it allows you to go here, and then it allows you to do that, and you kind of figured that out on your own.
Yeah, I mean,
I think it's
the pictures themselves on the thing will teach you the game better than the book will.
Pretty much.
So, I mean, basically, if you fill in a cell and there's a picture on it, wherever that picture's icon is elsewhere, you get to fill in that cell.
Right.
So it's not that hard once you actually start doing it.
I think the hard part is just figuring out where to go.
Yeah,
it's just what to work on.
There's just a lot in this game.
There really is.
Because you've got at the end of round. Well, we're going to get into gameplay here in a minute, but there's an end of round attack that happens upon you, and you have to build up your foundation to fight it. Now, one challenge I did see that I didn't understand is why you had a wall to begin with when it has no bearing really as far as the defense.
Yeah.
It gives you, as you're building up the wall, you'll gain things that give you defense, but the wall itself doesn't do anything.
Right.
So yeah, that was kind of weird. So as far as the rules though, I'm kind of diverging away from the rules. The rules, I'm probably going to go ahead and give these a 6.5. I don't think it's quite good enough to be a 7. They were just too unwieldy, and we lost one of our players mid-rule reading because they were so complex and convoluted.
It just kind of blew them away.
Yeah, they overwhelmed.
And this was my copy of the game, even though I'm pretty confident Randy will get it, because you'll find out why we did like the game so much. But I didn't get a chance to read the rule book myself, so I can agree with that.
Yeah, we probably dozed off a few times during the reading.
Probably.
I wouldn't blame you. I was hoping I could. All right, so on to the gameplay.
Which is where this game excels.
Yes. It's once you actually start playing, the fun of the chaining of this is just out the roof.
Yeah, it's so cool.
It's so much. When you're playing a typical roll and write, you can sometimes get like those little chains happen, particularly like Donjon Clever and things like that. You'll get a pattern to go, but here you can chain like, oh, I'm over here, I fill this in, and that gives me a box over here, and that one gives me one over here, and then it just keeps
keep going.
Keeps going. And then you'll get resources. Maybe I'll get 2 yellow guys here, and then I'll pay 1 yellow, and I'll get to purple and a blue, and then I'll keep.
Yeah.
Just you got to figure out what's the best way to allocate them. It's really difficult. There's so many options that on the board you could do with them. It's just overwhelming how many options you can do. So your turns take a while to get through.
But I agree as far as the chaining, because you might start the card reveal will tell you what your starting resources are for that round, and you might not get that much. But then you unlock a couple spots on the wall that allows you to go to a couple other spots, and you are like down to maybe just a couple of stone.
Yeah.
And then you use a stone, and then you get a couple more meeples back. And then you use those meeples that give you other meeples, and you just keep going.
Yeah.
And you really think you're done, and you're not done.
Yeah.
And so I love that part.
Yeah, I'm not going to go through every action because
there's no way
it would take us too long. We basically be reading the rule book to you, but we'll go through kind of the sections. So you've got the kind of the military section where you're defending against that attack at the end of the round. So you build a wall, you got a sippy, you got a wall guard, you got a mining and foresting that helps you get resources. Resources are all represented by stone. You can use it as it's just a common resource. Apart from that, it's your worker types, which you have soldiers, you have I forget what the purple ones represent. Priests.
Mining and priests.
Yeah, these are priests. These are your civilians. The blue ones are, I think, basically your trade people.
Yeah, your market people.
So the combinations of those are used all throughout all the different boards, though. Civilians are primarily used to open up your different types of trade people or priests or so on. And even your soldiers, they basically get converted into those. You've got you've got your resource production, which is kind of and on top of the resources you get from the card, you also get your own personal deck where you get to take 2 cards every round. One of them is put up as a in-game scoring bonus, which gives you from 1 to 3 points if you meet the criteria. And then the other one is you get additional resources from, plus it gives a trade good that you can sell to your opponents, and they'll give you these stones for them in resources,
which is a really neat element.
And they get to claim that number that they have in trade goods from 1 to 6, and you're trying to collect a variety of those numbers. And then the other thing it gives you is a pattern, which is the Tetris piece that comes in, because if you take a certain action here at the bottom, it's the scouts. If you take the scout action, you can fill in a 5x4 grid that gives you resources similar to what we saw in the Magnificent as far as that goes, right?
And then you get additional resources if you fill in, I think on this one you fill rows, but then I had a card that gave me victory points that gave me points for columns. So it was kind of a win-win for me to fill that spot out.
Yeah, so, and you and I both got capitalized on that. It didn't pay off for me, but we capitalized. So, you're filling in all these boxes and you're going back and forth trying to figure out what is going to benefit me the most. Sometimes that's filling in and taking advantage of hitting certain numbers when you reach on civilian charts or the wall to reach a certain point where you get to unlock things, because there's numbers that unlock production, there's numbers that unlock abilities to build buildings. So there's all kinds of things that if you reach just a certain number, you get it. But there's also using the goods to get other resources back or other types of workers.
So that then you can just keep that engine going.
So you can keep that engine going. So you got to kind of balance that. But you also got to be prepared for that battle each round, and that can be vicious. We were playing on the easy mode, mind you.
There's 3 levels to the game.
Each round they get tougher. So
it's not so much that they get tougher; you get more of them.
Yeah, you get more of them. So at the end of the round, you've got 3 sections to your it's
the cohorts.
It's not the wall; it's the cohorts. But the cohorts you get to allocate whenever you get a cohort icon. You can choose whether you want to put it in the left, center, or right, but you're gambling. You have no idea where the attack's coming from.
Because it's a random draw. And you draw based off what difficulty level that number of cards. And so it might 2 right, 1 middle, and 4 left. And so then that's where you have to hope that you divided up your defenses correctly. Because if you can block everything, you get some really nice victory points potentially in Valor. But if you messed up and you didn't guess correctly or you didn't calculate correctly, then you can get disdain. And if you don't take care of disdain, it's negative points at the end of the game.
And these central cards have all these icons on there. So the top represents the attack that comes in. So you're going to draw so many of these, and they're going to have, some of them will have more than one icon on
Oh,
there.
yeah.
And then the next row, you've got a trade good here where you can trade with the central deck in addition to trading with your opponents. And the bottom has the resource you can produce. And then the left has a gladiator. So there's a gladiator battle. You have 2 gladiators that you can build up and fight against this, and you can get some additional points for that. So that was neat.
So I think I quickly discovered it's just one of those games you're not going to be able to do all the things.
Yeah.
So you got to focus on the things that you think you can do well at. I was able to max out a couple of the different, the traders and the patricians. And I think I came pretty close to getting the priests maxed out.
Yeah.
And when I maxed those out, that allowed me to do stuff on their side of the board that really kind of, especially the scouts and the traders, gave me a lot of points at the end of the game.
Yeah.
And then because of those bonuses, I was able to really focus on the stats that you got in your game, your renown and the valor. And I was able to max out my renown, almost max out my valor, which allows me to build other things called the monuments, and then that gave me some points too.
Yeah, and for me, I lost badly because I picked poorly on the cohorts every time.
Yeah.
I would build up one area, and it would always be the area I didn't build up that I get hammered on. So I lost points, quite a few points on the cohorts being not built up. So the disdain in my area, I was entertaining them. I was having gladiator battles. I think I was the only one doing gladiator battles.
Yeah, I didn't do gladiator
but
at all.
They didn't like me because of the fact that while they were watching them, they were getting stabbed in the back by the invading horde.
Those stupid Picts.
Yeah. You would think they'd be happy while they died, but no. So yeah, it was entertaining. But I will say this is pretty much a solitaire game.
It really is.
There's very little interaction with
the
your
only
players
that
apart from
interaction,
the
as
trade.
Randy mentioned earlier, is you trying to get their trade goods. So if you're able to utilize the numbered cards, then that helps out with your scoring. But it doesn't. All you're doing,
or you can borrow their shape too.
Right. So potentially that would help you out because they're giving you resources to do that.
Yeah.
But that's it.
Yeah. Apart from that, you're playing a solo game. My big grievance with it was I couldn't tell how well or badly I was doing the entire game. I had no idea.
I don't think that was a bad thing, but it was kind of cool because I thought I was running away with the game.
Yeah.
I had all those built up. I had my stats maxed out. And I was like, man, I'm going to score a lot of points. I didn't win by that much.
Yeah.
I mean, Kevin came in second place, and he was pretty darn close.
And even I wasn't that far.
Yeah, and he wasn't that far behind any of us. So
Yeah.
I think I won by 5, and I think you lost by 8 or something like that. It wasn't by that much.
But even still, it's like the one complaint I have about it is we had no idea. It's similar to Gauntron Clever.
Yeah, and I don't think that personally. I don't think that's a bad thing because if I'm not focusing on other people and I could just focus on me, I'm going to do better.
Yeah.
But if I have to worry about what everybody else is doing, and then that divides my attention and forget it.
And the other thing is you're doing all this simultaneously.
Yes.
So if you do have any issue with someone potentially cheating, it can happen easily.
They can.
You can mistakenly fill in boxes first.
Right. Yeah. And you can unintentionally cheat.
Yeah.
Sure.
It's very easy to do that. Matter of fact, I caught myself accidentally did it once, and I fixed it because I gave up the resources
I did
later.
it one time and realized what I didn't realize is I thought you got 3 sections to your wall that Randy was talking about. And I thought that once I got to a certain part, I could start the next section because I met my requirements. So I thought I could do the next section. I couldn't. So then I had to use resources to make it right. I had to use resources I was going to use somewhere else to fill in those empty spots. So then by the end of the game, I wasn't cheating.
Yeah.
But I really could have used those somewhere else.
Well, I had a building that I triggered the action of and didn't realize I hadn't built it yet. So I had to go back and pay the resources to build the building after it.
And it's pretty easy to do it, really, because
there's
it's so much.
There's just so many boxes to fill in.
And probably it's not really a gripe, but probably the other thing that makes it daunting, that makes it look so bad, is so little.
Yeah.
Everything, the font's tiny, the symbology's tiny, the iconography's little, and you're like trying to get in there, and thankfully you don't have to write numbers. You had to write numbers in these little boxes over here, you'd be screwed.
Well, some of them you do.
Some of them, but it's just, thankfully it's just single digits.
Yeah.
But if you had to write a bunch of stuff, you wouldn't have space, you couldn't do it.
Yeah, there's
It's just so little.
This is definitely not one. If you're trying to get a roll and ride or something similar to that, I would not start with this at all.
I highly recommend it, but it's not a start.
Yeah, it's definitely not one to get if you're new to this.
Right.
It's one to build up to. I don't think once you actually get the flow of it, I think you're fine. Matter of fact, Miranda didn't get to play, so we're going to be teaching her, and I think we'll just teach her without referring to the rules because I think she'll pick it up fine from us going to explain it now. But it was when we sat through it, like I said, we lost one of our players. It was that intimidating, and it's.
And I can't blame them because if you're slightly tired or you're not in the right mood, I could see this totally not being the game for you at that time.
If you let the opportunity take itself, and you don't mind the solitaire aspect of this game, it's a lot of fun.
It's a wonderful
especially
game.
when you get that chain going.
Oh,
it's just a lot of fun. So it's. I'm going to rate this one. I think an 8.5 after one play. I'm going to look. As soon as we played it, I wanted to play it again. And it was like, oh, it's after midnight, and I got to get up in the morning for work. So
and that's the other thing. I think an 8.5 is a good score too, but it's not a short game either. Yeah. Most roll and rides are pretty, 45 minutes and you're done.
Well, this box says it's 60 minutes. That's call BS on that.
Yeah, that's shenanigans.
I mean, maybe after you've learned it.
Maybe after 3 or 4 plays even, where you're really comfortable with everything, maybe you can knock it out in an hour. But even then, it was
two and a half hours for us. Yeah. And that was after the rules, right? I think.
Right.
Yeah. Because it was just trying to figure out, make sure we got everything right. We didn't fill in the wrong boxes and everything, and just clean up.
But thankfully, in-game wasn't so bad, so we were able to get stuff figured out pretty quickly.
Yeah, and you play 6 rounds in the game, and it's over.
And it's easily tracked, so that's one of the helpful benefits of the little cardboard road that you have in the front. It's easily to track stuff. So.
Yeah. So, what's your score on 8.5?
I think 8.5 is a good score.
Okay. Well, that's our assessment of Hadrian's Wall. If you enjoy solitaire-type games, I would certainly recommend checking this one out.
Or if you just good, complex engine-building games, this is really, really highly recommended. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. All right. Well, until next time, make sure you hit that subscribe button again and follow along because we'll be having more great games coming up, and I probably will be buying this game soon, so it'll be in my collection too because I have to do that.
That's right. It's Randy. So, all right.
Bye.
So I can't rake it any higher than Catan.
There is a gnat right here in front of me that is driving me crazy.
We're going to pause for a minute.
Yes.
So Randy can
I'm hoping he's gone, but I don't think he is. He's going to keep coming back and invading our video.
Probably because that noxious gas that keeps escaping from your body.
I think it's got more to do with the fact that Miranda's not here, so he thinks he can fill in to be the third person in our videos.
Hello!